Hey folks, we're going to continue working on Spelljammer Art this morning. Let's see, let me check my signal, make sure I'm active, then I'll go through my intro spiel and we'll get to work. So let's see here. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. All right, folks that are familiar with the channel already, if you're catching us in the future after the live stream, you can spin forward like a minute or whatever to get past my intro text. But for those that are new and here live with me, hey, my name is Theurgy. I create role-playing game supplements. I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition here for the past 5 years. There is a ton of work that I have created that is published on the DMsGuild.com. There are links to a slew of the books that I've created down in the description down below. They all have free previews. So if you're here for pixel pushing and artwork, there's probably about 150 different illustrations among the books that are just linked down below alone. If you're here for D&D 5e mechanics and ideas, I run tables as a DM from level 1 to 20 in about 200 to 250 hours typically. So it's not so the stuff that I build is meant for both DMs and players. You can check that stuff out. There's extensive free previews. If you think any of that stuff is cool, consider making a purchase to help support more behavior like that in the future. I've also just posted that I'm live on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter X at Theurgy. Meow. I have artwork when I go live, as well as links to art that I've produced. You can check that stuff out. Best way to support the channel overall is to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Is this where I'm at right now? Am I live and direct? Hit the bell icon. Is this where I'm at? Yeah, there we are. Cool. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm live in the future. I'm here 6 days a week, and let's see. This is we're at episode 258 right now. This is the book cover we created back around episode 15. Hey, Karen. So you can check out back in the Wayback Machine of our playlist when we created the book cover here. So when we talk about building a book, we come up with an idea, we play test it, if it works, then we start meshing out the words for it. Once the words are resolved, we'll hire out an editor, send it out for them to wordsmith it, send it back to us when the words are good. We then drop it into a word processor like Microsoft Word is what I use. We break up the text into bite-sized ideas that are digestible per page. And once all of this stuff is down on the pages, we can start doing illustrations. So we'll take each individual page that we have, we'll extract it as a separate PDF. We'll drop it down here into Photoshop, and then we'll start illustrating it. So once all the illustrations are done, we'll drop it all back into the Word document. We'll fuse the Word document into a PDF file, which we'll then publish online for folks to check out on DMsGuild with a free preview. And boy, Word is thinking about it. Vajijity. Up here, thank you. This is 108. This is a 107-page document about Spelljammer and additional mechanics that were absent from 5e that had some sort of representation in 2e, as well as other ideas. Everything that curves together into using the 5e mechanics, as well as mechanics from the player's handbook, and some of the supplemental optional rules from the DMG to make all of this stuff work together. So it'll have an extensive preview, and we'll be talking about stuff as we continue going through. Once it's published, I'll have an entire director's cut walkthrough of the piece altogether for folks to check out and just to hear my thoughts on things in general. So we're going to continue. We have some basic sticks laid down here as a forest that we were working on yesterday. I'm going to save, I think I want to save the foreground for now and just focus in on the back end. If I can resolve all this stuff. if I can resolve all this background, then that'll help feed into the foreground, and I can just focus on this quarter-page block here to buff that out to help bring us in closer camera-wise to what's going on this ring world. So I think with that, we'll go into, let's pull open the references that we've been collecting here for the piece. Karen, how you doing this morning? So here's some general architecture and forest and wood that we can use for our world. Let's grab there's a highlight. That's a decent, I think that's a decent transition color there. Yeah, let's keep these on tap. That's a good reference. So we're going to be here in the way back, in the far back. We're going to grab one of my texture brushes. It's a tree line brush. Windows, brush settings, shape dynamics, brush properties. This is what the brush does. It's just a texture. It's a wall of texture. So what we can do is we can bring down the pixels on it and just dot some of this stuff in here. I'm going to dot across the top here initially. You can then take the same brush as an eraser tap at the bottom of it here to keep the top end preserved, but to start building layers as we go through here. So what does this button do? Far back. You can tap at all these little tree bits that are sticking up over the ridge line. Pull that stuff in. Then we tap, tap, tap. Yeah, well, I like. I'll use a. Predominantly, I like using evergreens in general, but I think there may be room for some deciduous. I'm not 100% sure yet. Typically, it's going to be evergreen trees because I'm a big Bob Ross enthusiast at heart, you know. That should be fine. Then right back. So let's see. I think I want to grab another brush now that we're getting a little bit closer. Where is my indescript tree brush? Window, brush settings, shape dynamics, projector. Well, there's that. So I erase most of the mid to create these little gaps that stick out, and then I can erase at the base of it, and then I can add a bit more in and erase at the base, add a bit more in and erase at the base, and add a bit more in and erase at the base, add a bit more in. Wherever the eraser creates little pockets, that's where I can put new trees in. Like that. There. Ah, good to know. And then I want to drop the opacity a bit to have that stuff poke through some. Blend in a little bit more. That helps, I think, with the overall geography of it. Cool. Got that in place, and here now we can start hopscotching layer by layer. First thing I want to do is, I think, squash this down a little bit like that. Probably want to create a little diversity in the greens that we're using here. Let's grab up here. No, let's grab. Interesting, pulling some blues there. Yeah. I like this song a lot. Dong, 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 dong. Let's see how this goes. No wrong answers here, just new discoveries. So we're trying to figure out. We can layer those in. That should be fine like that. Let's find some more. Just rando. Be careful about the tree's size getting too large too quick for the foreground to be able to have the proper depth. Let's grab nice and dark. That'll do. It's not bad. It's not bad. I feel like this should bump. Drop back a bit. Just have a shift button tied down. There we go. So we'll just keep bouncing back and forth between these here. Stipple, 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 and I can use my eraser here to fade it away. And then stipple, 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 just to break in and create these layering effects here. Without having to be too committed to what it is, specifically the form. Da, 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 da. Erase at the bottom. Dark, we'll layer in more light on top of it, and then we up, erase the butt, slowly pushing our troops forward. Ba, 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 ba. I'm not liking how much striping is going on back in the back, So I think I'm going to dot it up a bit. Ba, 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 ba. Text! Up to the species. Yeah, right. Dropped it down to like a 60-some%. Oh. Back pop. I've got this spot in my shoulder blade, like right about here, that's always a little out of place. There, and dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. Dot, 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 dot. A lot of stippling going on today. It's how it do. That's probably good enough. Stipple this in. I'm trying to, you got these vertical lines that we got going on here. I'm just trying to break those up a bit. They're too repetitive in the distance here. They're poking through the patterning too much. They're kind of breaking up what it is that we're trying to do here. Down a bit. Yeah, those horizontal lines give the impression of ground, which makes this foliage that we're making a little too sparse. Break this down. So we have all this resolved, we can eventually start dotting in some lights, like for lanterns on houses. Hey, Ked, how you doing? My mouse is too close to my tablet's fucking with my system. There we go. Yes, they are literally happy trees. Yeah, the loss of the Almighty Mountain is a shame, but we'll just have to go with the planet as their god. Let's see. Yeah, I feel better about. I think that's pulling off the effect that we want. Now I see a spot here that I want to mess with specifically. So we use these dark spots to have a lighter color tree dot in, so we can keep breaking up the color patches and adding layers of depth at the same time. But yeah, it literally is Bob Ross techniques that we're using here. I just happen to have a brush that's tree shaped. It loses a lot of its definition at this range, but that doesn't really matter to me. I don't care. Where are you coming from, dude? Oh, my. I see you now. Dunka dunka bam bam. Dunka dunka bam. Dunka dunka bam bam. Dunka dunka bam bam. Dunka dunka bam bam. Jump. So we'll continue layering trees like this over the dark, and then we'll erase some of it, and we'll add some more in. Well, you've been here for a few minutes. You've seen the to-do of it. Half the skill set of being a painter is just patience. Giving yourself the opportunity to let the thing cook, without setting yourself up for being disappointed and in the midpoint. Like the worst thing you can do for yourself is to start downing the process when you're halfway through. I like to call it being so far down the tunnel that you can't see light at either end of it, and so you're just kind of blindly clawing your way forward, but you will eventually see some decent results off of what you're producing. I like that cut. I'm gonna get rid of that a little bit. There, push that back. The lazy artist is an efficient artist. Well, like I said, brushes are fantastic to use if you understand what they're supposed to be used for. A lot of people will just blindly collect paint brushes without really understanding, like what am I trying to say? Creating your own brushes helps lean into the style, like you're replicating and simplifying your own style. When people grab at brushes and don't really if they're using that as their skill set instead of being able to do the effects that they want with like a simple round brush, then you're not really advancing yourself as an artist. You're like it's almost like I want to learn how to do dark, edgy superheroes, so I'm going to duplicate a metric ton of Spawn art. And that's okay, but you don't necessarily, you might like the aesthetic, but you don't necessarily understand where the techniques come from, like the lighting techniques that McFarlane will use in the folds of a garment, or like why the chain has a certain perspective, or whatever it is. It's your when you're copying and borrowing, and brushes are the same way. You're borrowing techniques and you're borrowing skills that aren't necessarily your own yet. So I always like to say, that when you get strong enough with the basics, you'll have an understanding as to why a brush will help you accomplish whatever goal it is. Like you won't really understand what you need that brush for until you've hashed out how to do it manually without a simplifying brushing technique. At that point, you know what you're looking for. So when you design your own brush, it's going to be addressing the specific problem that your skill and style need addressing for you to accomplish the effect. And once you're in that space and you know what you're doing and you know what those brushes are for, then it really opens up understanding, like mastery. I'm gonna drop this down here and add another layer. Let's go with something. That. Having said that, for anyone that is participating and watching today, once I get to 500 subscribers, I'll provide my brushes on my Patreon at no cost. As what is that, an ASB file? So the brushes that I build are meant to duplicate the techniques that Bob uses when he stipples that. Because I mean, all Bob does is stipple and smudge. That's all he does. Stipple and smudge. Stippled smudge. Stipple smudge. So once you figure out his cadence and how his techniques work in general, you can start creating brushes that duplicate those effects. Because you'll have an understanding of how his stippling works. I've spent I've done about 120 of his paintings, so I really wanted to get a real level mastery of how Bob does his stuff, because I knew, like, at the time, this is a few years ago, and then I'm like 5, 6 at this point, 5 maybe, 4, let's say 4 years ago at this point, is when I started doing Bob Ross paintings, because I knew I needed to up the level of my environment illustrations. I knew they were lacking. I knew I needed a technique that would get me back into progressing. And I used to watch Bob Ross when I was a little kid, playing Legos on Saturday morning at 6:30, waiting for the D&D cartoon to come on, building Lego castles and listening to Bob Ross talk about happy trees. It was fun, man. A golden era of being alive in the single digits. Buck in the days. Erase down here. Keep that ridge line straight. How are we looking? Yeah, it's a good little medley of blue and green. I'm pretty happy with that. It's got a bit of a same to it at this range, and that's good. I want to have less color diversity the further away we are, to help denote depth. You can trick the eye into thinking there's more depth than there is by increasing the contrast in the colors that you're using while you're in the foreground versus less color diversity in the background. Making the back gray out is a way of showing atmospheric perspective to minimize, like to pull your eye towards the foreground where there's more diversity. That feels pretty good. The rest are assessment. And really for the background details, but if you had a tree and a pool, yeah, of course. Yep, yep. Yeah, absolutely. There's that, and this is where I want to be right now. Having said that, we can use these brushes for various purposes. Let's grab some... Ooh, yeah, that's bending a little bit more red. That feels appropriate. That is not the right brush. I want to switch to... Let's switch to my high-res brush settings. Fluffadoodles. Shape dynamic. Brush. Derp. So here's this one. So if I drop this down and I flatten it out a bit, it creates decent texture. That, and let's grab this here. Got a lighter eraser using a different texture pattern, so when it erases, it creates a bit more grit. With that. Where are you at, buddy? There you are. There's that. So we'll flip here to here. We'll add another layer here. Let's go back to our brushes. Front brush. Let's see how this one does. Let's grab front brush, brush settings, dynamic, brush technique. Lighten that up a touch. There, erase that just a touch. Fade that down a bit. Fade that down a bit. Hey, how you doing? I think you're new to the channel, right? You here for the artwork, or are you a D&D enthusiast? So I build D&D books. I illustrate them and I publish them online. So I shut down my monster book. Hold on, let's fire that up again. Nope, that's the wrong book. I pressed a button. Let's see what pops open. I think I accidentally opened my color mana book. I can see the wheels thinking. It's thinking of, anyway, let's get back to work. Yes, I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for the past 5 years. The description below has a slew of work that I've already created that I'll have free previews. But right now, I am building a supplement for Spelljammer. There it is. Like when a book is fully illustrated like this color mana book, this is how it ends up looking like, having all of these illustrations dropped in before I seal it into a PDF. This was a 75-page book that I created a couple years ago for the beginnings of the core book for the 5 color mana spell point variant rule system that I created. But this new one that we're working on right now, Spelljammer, we're still in the process of creating the art. But this one's a solid 107 pages. So this is my biggest project to date. It's got a lot going on. So we're taking each of these spaces on the page and we're putting illustrations and diagrams and charts and stuff in them. Yeah, I stream a lot. Thanks for the love, Ked. Two same. There, break that up a bit. Transition here. Drop that in like that. How's this next piece gonna look? Nice. So we're going to put some ground scruff here. Where'd my ground scruff brush go? There. High res. Let's burp. Yeah, I started off as a freelance illustrator. Back when I was 12, I got into Robotech and D&D, and I saw the parallels between armor and mecha. Look at that. Look at how just easily that stuff just creates scrub brush. I fucking love these brushes, man. Look at that. That was like 0 effort to create that little tuft. But now it's ours. It's our tuft. Tuft. Let's create another tuft. More tuft. After a while, sticking with painting for God knows how long, I got good enough that people would pay me. And in the early 2000s, when the OGL happened, and third-party content creators could officially create Dungeons and Dragons adjacent content, there was a huge growth of different like Kobold Press and like Green Ronin and Frog God and Nat 20 and N-World and all these publishers that started popping up. Ice Scruff. Hold on. They all needed artwork, and print-on-demand PDFs had become a thing in the early 2000s as well. Like before that, you had to be a publisher with like an order of like 30,000 books if you wanted something printed. Then print-on-demand came out, and that coincided with the Roll20 and this, the D20 licensing. So role-playing games exploded across the internet, and there was a lot of work out there for freelance illustrators. So that's where I started getting into it, and then I had to start competing over when high-speed broadband internet access became global. I was competing against Indonesia, Croatia, and Singapore before those economies started to lift. So they could do the same level of art that I could still get it to the editor via the internet, and had like a quarter or a tenth of my cost of living. My cost of living was considerably higher. So it became, I had to then transition out of doing freelance art into private commissions, and I stuck there for a while. And when I started burning out on that, that's when the Ravnica setting got published by Wizards of the Coast 5e, and I thought that we would see a color mana system finally from Wizards, considering they own both Magic the Gathering and D&D. I'm like, finally we'll see a color mana thing, and it didn't happen. And I'm like, oh, we're never going to see a color mana thing from Wizards, so I better just do that. And so that was the first role-playing supplement that I created. The 5 color mana spell point variant rules that I have on DMsGuild. And I've just, that was 5 years ago, and I've just been continuing to build books since then. That's my story. That's my story. Create some tough down here. I probably want to, you know what, I don't think I'm happy with these trees. I think I want some more. I think I want something a little brighter. Interesting how sharp the lighting is here, but how, that's a good one. Yeah, 30% opacity should be good. That is good. I spy with my eyes something that is text. Give me a second here. Hey, what's up? WotC actually published complete content? Well, it's just beyond. I don't blame them. If anyone that's checked out the color mana system that I produced, there's a lot to it. It is far more robust mechanically than where WotC is trying to go. They've decided to focus on the least common denominator. And people that don't like math, which is a smart business decision, because there's a shitload of people that don't like doing math in their head like at all. So I don't blame. I think I get why Wizards does what they do. I personally just think people can be treated a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like if we build our products for people that are like 90 IQ, right? Like if 110, like if 100 is the average IQ, then there's a lot of people that are a lot dumber than that. And when they talk about IQ, they talk about their ability to understand ideas. And I'm just wondering, how much does the world's most popular role-playing game really need to cater to people that have a difficult time visualizing things? So I mean, that might sound elitist of me, but it's a mental, like role-playing games are heavily mental activities. You should be pushing yourself to have higher mental acumen and using role-playing games as the vehicle to do that. I'm gonna talk out of pocket here for a minute, I'm sure. Like, you see those stupid games that they advertise on YouTube? Like, you know, you got the guy there with the warrior, and there's like 3 options, and each one of them has a number. And you pick the one that your number is higher, so you can defeat them, and then you get to add their total to your total, so you can attack something even bigger. That's very basic math. Like, that's not very complicated, right? So that is a very simple, a very, very simple example of using math in a game, and although the functions are very simple, it doesn't. It requires you to be able to do math, right? And if you don't, you'll learn quick. That thing you attacked had a higher number than you. You are dead. There's a learning curve involved with every game, no matter how basic it is. And trying to eliminate the obstacle of learning how to math in a game system isn't making your game better. It's making the people that play it worse at math. So I think that's where I was trying to go with that conversation, where defaulting to dumbing down a game to make it more appealing, it doesn't make the game more appealing. It just makes it dumber, which I think is a large complaint from the previous edition audience transferring into 5e. That like 5e is by far the dumbest version of D&D to date. I love 5e more than any other system because of how unified the mechanics are. But at the same time, I can acknowledge that they have considerably dumbed down how D&D plays, period. Like 3E was a much more complicated game that rewarded you for system mastery. 5E is in a place where system mastery is only kind of rewarded. And by system mastery, it's just knowing what the options are. Like synergizing systems, like synergizing classes, for example, in 5e has a lot of natural barriers created on purpose to like the less multi-class interaction there is. Like 3e had a much deeper. Hold on. I'm trying to find. There we go. I'm doing some layer adjusting here. I'm just trying to see how. There we are. I want to drop down that transition a bit. Fade those in a bit more so they sat with the rest of the space better. I think we're going to find ourselves. That's good. There we go. Sorry, I'm adjusting layers so my train of thought gets derailed. Give me a sec here to get back on point. Good. And now we're on the left-hand side? Perfect. There's so much more mechanical depth to character creation in 3E, or like you can see, how that continues to curve out with Pathfinder First Edition. These color, cool. That depth, that robust class mechanics that we had in 3E were heavily enticing to people that wanted to be able to fidget and basically tinker and be a mechanic with their role-playing game. It scratched a very particular itch, but those mechanics had the cost of requiring a lot more attention being paid by the developers as to like what kind of options are we introducing into the game that's going to break with other options that we have in the game. And now Wizards has to think. And the last thing a corporation wants to do is think. A corporation's job is to find something that people already love, purchase it for a low cost, and then continue producing it while minimizing the effort to do so. And quite often, as a result, destroying everything that people loved about that thing. Like every time a food company, like if Amy's were to like Amy brand food, like they do vegan food, right? If they were to sell to, say, Pillsbury, we could anticipate a rapid decline in the quality of Amy's product under what do we say, Pillsbury? Under Pillsbury's care, because Pillsbury's job is to maximize profits, which is most easily achieved by minimizing quality to the point where people will still buy it. They could complain, and the corporation doesn't care if they complain about the quality of it as long as it continues to be purchased. If they stop purchasing, then they have to reassess, is the level of quality that we have sufficient? And depending on how much copium they like to smoke, they may or may not learn anything from the complaints of the audience, or they may learn perfectly well what the problem is, but may have a risk assessment where we won't invest the amount of money required to accomplish the things that the audience asks for. So they'll placate, shift blame, and then try to hype up nostalgia and enjoyment of the brand to keep you on board. If that process sounds familiar, we're currently going through it right now with 5e and D&D as they transition into whatever 2024 D&D is going to be. It's no coincidence that they're punching out a bunch of Grognard adjacent content like Spelljammer, Planescape, that the old guard fan base has been lamenting isn't present in current 5e at all, or hasn't been present at all in Wizards of the Coast since acquiring TSR. So what's a good way to keep butts in seats? Push out nostalgia content. Oops, we did a horrible job in creating that nostalgia content. Everyone is now angry at us. Okay, no problem. We're releasing a new edition of D&D that will be able to fix everything. Hold on tight. While we're doing that, we're going to release some more nostalgia content. There's a deck of many things. You've never seen that before, right? There's playing a rotation with us. I doubt we're going to see an improvement. They'll make more expensive books, but I don't think we're going to find a higher quality of like role-playing game content coming from them anytime soon. I mean, we really got to think what's the minimum effort that they can put in producing a thing. That's the level of quality we should expect. So why would Wizards invest a shitload of time in creating a color mana system that is allowing you to tap red mana, throw a fireball, when you can just narrate, I'm a wizard, Harry, and I'm an Izzet wizard, so I'm going to use my spell slots to throw Izzet themed spells, and I'm going to use my own spell selection process for my character to reflect what kind of a MTG caster I am. I like having technical mechanics, the crunch of it, be reflected in how, and like having mechanical options, I think helps sculpt the build of the character, which then informs like how you're narrating, how you're portraying the character, what your role playing is. Like, I think optimization informs role playing, doesn't get in the way of it. Like that whole Stormwind fallacy thing where optimization is antithetical to role playing, and I think that's a complete misnomer. Yeah, I'm ranting. Yeah, 3.5 was the bomb, man. It created an entire subgenre of it created a mini game inside it. I've got a mark up there in the sky apparently. Yeah, there, Scallywag. Thank you. Are we? Yeah, we're probably done here. Let's click that out. Woof, woof. Got a lot going on over here. What is going on down here? Free transform. Yeah, I spent a shitload of time in 3E. $7:30. Okay, I still got 20 minutes. It's working. Let's grab some more. They're losing audience to companies like Paizo, Free League, and Money Cook Games at a pretty fast rate, which I'm fine with me too. Can keep on keeping on. Yeah, I don't mind. I honestly don't care if WotC self-destructs. At some point, I'm going to stop using, like in my own curve. At some point, I'm going to stop using Wizard IP, and have a reason for me to transition into DTRPG, whether I continue using 5e or a different system. My time in Wizards is limited. I mean, if they put out more MTG stuff, I'll have to address it, because that's a pretty significant flag I've planted in my own projects. As far as I know, I'm the only one that's really playing with color mana in the 5e space. So I want to continue. If Wizards continues developing MTG in 5e, I want to continue developing MTG in 5e as well. Hence the Martial Powers project, the Spell Point Sorcerer, and the revisions that I'll be doing to the color mana system once 2024 gets released. But once that's out, I don't think there's a lot other than MTG. I don't think there's a lot that's keeping me on DMsGuild anymore. I think I'll be ready to move on to bigger themes overall that would warrant me leaving DMsGuild for Kickstarter projects. And now I'm talking business again, so somebody stop me. I'm gonna leave that there. We're gonna clumpify this. Let's get clumpy. Some depth in here. Tap at it to get some texture going. Good. And then we'll bury it again. And then we'll highlight again. There. I'm seeing a point over here that I want to mess with. Take these things like that. There. Here. Here. Overlay. That feels pretty good. Back to here. I need to break this out. This down here needs to be in a separate layer from that here. So now we'll add in front of that here. Text, Karen. Kedip. Vagabond is going pretty well. That reminds me, I was supposed to help him set up a foundry thing, and then I go, you know. Yeah, right on. I'm sure Taryn will do well with it. He's a smart guy. He knows how to build. Let him cook. I really want to get punchy. Okay, this little spot in here, this would be a great place to put a cottage. Like these little, like there's these little nooks in here that we can drop little structures into. I think that'll be fun. Yeah, we're coming along really, really nicely here. Let's go grab another, let's hit save real quick. And then let's go find something that we like. Oh, that's super sharp. Let's do that. Hello. Hey there, Punchy. Stipple, 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 stipple everywhere. Stipple, 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 stipple. Grab. Oops. Zero. There. Oh, that's stipplicious stuff. Lovely little ground texture there. That's all that guy needed. Burp, burp, burp. I'll do the same thing over here. Over here. too much eraser. Too much color. Let's drop that like that. Drop that in. Like that. I'm sure I could build a scatter brush that would potentially automate this task more, but so much of the painting that I do, I like to do manually, just to have control over it, as well as just continuing to train. Like, it's continuing education to teach yourself how to create effects without relying on automation effects all the time. There, that should feel pretty good. What I can hear. That, and let's see. Yeah, so that should close that up. Open this up to new space. Vagabond is going pretty well. That reminds me, yeah. He put in a shitload of hours yesterday. That's for sure. This will be a nice little copse. This is going to be a pretty cool little spot. Still got 10 some odd minutes. Whoa, way too sharp. Yeah, take about 30% off there, Squirrely Dan. I think I want to. Boop, boop. Add some ground texture here, fade it in a bit, working into the rock. I fucking love this stuff, man. It's so fun. Terrain is just such a wonder. Drop in some lighter color. We'll erase that and fade it into the rock a bit. We'll build a layer on top of that. Let's flatten this guy up a bit. that, just fade it in. See how it breaks in? See all the little breaks in the texture there helps create that that tarmac sort of, that loam feeling to it. And I can see I have a bit too much sharpness. Where are you at? There you are. I need to break this up a bit. There's too much. That feels better. Cool. All right, so let's we just keep pushing across the page. Nice dark clump that we were actually, I think it's too dark. I think I want to create a little pocket. Brain it scruffy. There, another really cool little yeah, neat little patch. Like I could put again another cottage and house and stuff in there. It's a neat little pocket. Cool little spots where the architecture itself is introducing to us. So we can have all sorts of lights dotted along like little. Let's push the blue a bit. For example, let's go to the far back here. Click into that. Go with a soft round brush. That'll be fun. We'll drop this down to really small and just little. Let's go to 30. I'll have to fix this edge here, but we'll fix that edge. Something like that. Oh, I hear ya. What am I, like a 5-minute warning? Yeah, 5 minutes at best. Time for me to bounce out of here for the day. transition like that. Cool. We're going to go ahead and hit the brakes for the day. When we come back, we'll finish up this central column here. We'll finish this up here. We'll start being able to lay in groundwork here to figure out the scale of structures. We'll have some sort of structures here, and we can start building in basic architecture through here. What is this, Wednesday? We could, if it's not done by, well, I don't know how crazy we're going to get on detail on the front end here, honestly. I could see me finishing this on Saturday. If I decide I want to finish this up on screen, then it'll probably be done by Monday. We have about 11 more illustrations that we need to do, 5 of which are purely just system environmental stuff like this that should be a lot easier. That should be pretty easy for us to build out. I still have a lot of diagrams that I'm building off screen in my downtime away from camera. But we're still pushing forward, so I think January release is incredibly realistic at this point. I'd like it to be January 1st, but honestly, like if I can have it published before the 10th, I think that'll be a significant achievement for us. But I'm seeing this published in January regardless. So that'll be done. Eberron will become our primary project. We'll be doing Eberron Monday through Friday morning once this is published. Right now, Eberron is our Monday and Thursday night stream. Tuesdays, like yesterday, we do the martial powers mechanic development that we're doing for a mana system for non-casters. Today at lunch, in about 5.5-ish hours, like around 1:30, I think, I'll be continuing to explore the Monsters Compendium 4 Eldraine monster, Wilds of Eldraine art monster book that they put out on D&D Beyond. I've been looking at that from a color mana perspective of how they're translating creatures from MTG into D&D mechanics to see how close we are with the color mana system that we have on DMsGuild already. So far, we're in the upper 90% match ratio. They've only occasionally thrown in a curveball of looking at like making something that I would call like red, they call it white, for instance. But there are exceptions to make those to have that identity type stuff. So I don't think there's anything going on with Wizards mentality that's very different from what I've already presented as far as color mana options. So I'm excited about that. It looks like I have a rim here. It disappears when I zoom in, but when I zoom out, you can see that line there. I must be like, there's like a single pixel transition here that's breaking odd. Anyway, that's it for the day, guys. I'll be back in like 5.5-ish hours to play with Eldraine. We'll be back again tomorrow morning to continue working on our forest. I think this is going to end up being super sick when it's done. It's looking pretty dark. I think I can probably afford to tap the top of these trees with a little bit more highlights. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how this is coming along. So, cool, guys. I will see you on the other side. Later, Gators.